Good evening. The time is now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting of the Beloit City Council to order. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
All are present. Councilor Duncan is via phone.
Thank you. Next item is Pledge of Allegiance. May we all stand at this time.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3 is special orders of the day. Proclamation recognizing February as Black History Month. Vice President Keys is presenting.
The City of Beloit official proclamation. Whereas in 1915, the father of Black history, Carter Goodwin Woodson, founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History and proposed the celebration of Black History Month. And whereas 2022's Black History theme is Black Health and Wellness, acknowledging the legacy of Black scholars and medical practitioners in Western medicine, such as birth workers, doulas, midwives, naturopaths, healers, and more, throughout the African continent and African diaspora. And whereas, in order to foster good health and wellness, Black people have embarked on self-determination, mutual aid, and social support initiative to build hospitals, medical and nursing schools, and community clinics. And whereas Black health and wellness not only includes one's physical body, but also emotional and mental health, including activities, rituals, and initiatives that Black communities have done to be well. And whereas, let us commit ourselves to raising awareness to the multiple facets of Black health and wellness through education and activism. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Beloit proclaims February 2022 as Black Health and Wellness Month in the City of Beloit and encourages the support and participation of all citizens to observe this month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. Adopted the 7th day of February 2022, Clinton Anderson, Beloit City Council President.
Item 4 is public hearings. 4A is consideration of resolution 2022-020 authorizing a conditional use permit to allow a religious institute in an R-1B single-family residential district at 901 Harrison Avenue. Plan Commission recommendation 5-0.
We have Community Development Director Julie Christensen here to present.
Pedro Diaz has filed this conditional use to allow a religious institution called the Church of the Living God, Pillar and God of the Truth, the Light of the World. They have a contingent offer to purchase the property, subject to the outcome of this conditional use request. Their plan is to move their existing congregation, which operates in Janesville, to Beloit. This property is located on the northeast side of the intersection of Clary Street and Harrison Avenue. It is the former Atonement Lutheran Church. That congregation ceased operating in the building in October of 2020. The zoning code requires religious institutions in R1B to get a conditional use permit before they're authorized. Plan Commission reviewed this item on January 5th and voted unanimously to recommend approval, subject to the 4 conditions included in the attached resolution, which is that this conditional use permit allows a religious institution in an R1B single-family residential district at 901 Harrison Avenue. Your standard condition about major changes coming back through this public process and minor changes being able to be approved administratively by staff. And then it is further resolved that the applicant is formally advised of the following additional ordinance requirements. Before occupancy, the applicant shall obtain all life safety inspections required by code. And in accordance with Section 2-506 of the zoning ordinance, the applicant shall have 12 months from the date of CUP issuance to commence use of the property, or the CUP shall lapse and be of further effect. And Plan Commission did hold a public hearing. No one did come out from the neighborhood, but Plan Commission asked a number of questions of the applicants, and as a result, recommended approval subject to the conditions which are listed.
Thank you. Do you have a motion to approve? Motion by Leavy, second by Preschel. Any discussion? Councilor Preschel?
Oh, no, that's, I was just ready to answer questions if you had any, that's all.
Oh, thank you. Not seeing any questions or discussion, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Yeah. Oh, I am so sorry. Mondays. At this time, the public hearing is now open. Would anyone wishing to speak in favor or opposed to this item, please come forward at this time? Second call? Third call?
You can come forward. Are you the applicant? You're more than welcome to come forward and state your name and speak for a minute. Absolutely. Just go to the podium.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Sarah. I am the applicant's wife. Due to a little bit of a language barrier, I just wanted to come before all of you, and thank you for hearing us out last time. I believe you were the one that was here last time. And, well, we just wanted to basically say that thank you for actually, letting us, and, we want something good for the neighborhood. We want something good for humanity, not only the neighborhood, because our religion organization is in over 60 nations, so it's not only in the United States. One of the most recent locations that we have, I don't want to say conquer, but this is a good thing, for humanity, would be in Africa as well. So we are from Finland, Australia, everywhere. We're trying to get everywhere actually, because our mission is to share the message of salvation with all humankind, without discrimination or exclusion based on religion, race, color, language, gender, age, health, or ethnicity. So that's what we actually started as missionaries. So right now my husband is a minister, and I do help him in anything that needs to be done. And I just wanted to introduce ourselves to everyone.
Well, thank you. And it's wonderful that this church now is going to be used by you. I just think it's thrilling. I went to the school close to there and walked past it for many years of my life, so. Oh, whoops. Anyway, thank you.
I had a question too, if it's okay, or we could call it a comment. Would that be okay during the hearing?
Let's
Fine.
close up the public hearing. Then you can make a comment after that.
Okay.
Okay.
It was,
That's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to say thank you and, introduce myself.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
This time, are there any other comments in favor or opposed? Second call. Third call. Public hearing is now closed. Now I'll entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Leavy, second by Preschel. Any questions or comments?
yes, I had a question.
Start with Blakeley and then we'll go to Preschel.
Okay.
I had a question. I just wondered if you know yet whether you'll be holding multilingual services, just so at the right time I can help spread the word.
Actually, yes.
If I could invite you to go back, just so that our viewers can hear you. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, yes. We will be doing English for now, English and Spanish. Most of our youth, our children speak mainly English. They do speak Spanish, but they understand very good English language, being that that's what they're taught in school and everything. So we would have a couple of days where it would be English. We would also hopefully get devices for translations. So if the service is in Spanish, then we would try. What we're trying to implement now is having devices where they will have like a little hearing device, and whatever is being spoken will be translated to English if it's an English speaker at the moment. Because right now that's the only languages we service at this moment. Hopefully, our youth, or in the future, will learn other languages as well. Yes.
Great, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I was just going to say, I'm really happy to see that the church use being maintained. It's a really nice facility, and it's good to see that that is going to continue. And
Yes.
I'll just mention for the record that my parents got married there in 1954. So.
I mean, I forgot last time because I was very nervous, and I'm still very nervous. But
That's-
I mean, they're welcome to come once we open it. Hopefully, with everything that we're just gonna do a couple, update it a little, painting, nothing major, and then we will send an invite.
I'll look through my archives to see if there's a photo of the church back in that day.
Okay.
Yeah, I got one outside, but I don't know. I'll look for it.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have for you guys.
Yes, and then, we'll send the invite to anyone, the date, and, we'll have, usually after we do an inauguration, we actually have food afterwards too. So basically we have like a little reunion. So, everybody's more than welcome to come.
Thank you.
It's good to see it continuing as a church.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 5 is public comments.
We've reached the point in the agenda where members may speak to us about items that may come before us in the future. Council may not act on a request, but may refer the speaker to a staff person if necessary. We ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes or less and refrain from any personal attacks. We ask that you complete a speaker form, but it is not required. Madam Clerk, did we receive any written comment tonight too?
We did. There is one from Bill Flanagan from 669 Milwaukee Road. My name is William Bill Flanagan, and I live at 669 Milwaukee Road, Beloit, Wisconsin. I am submitting public comments on 2 concerns which are related. The first dealing with the recent violent issues that have severely impacted our community and require leadership, better communication, and visibility from our city manager and the council. The second has to do with concerns about lack of attention, support, and respect shown by the city for our first responders. More on that later. It concerns me that the only visible presence and response to the most recent homicides in Beloit has fallen on the shoulders of Chief Sales, who is certainly an important voice people want to hear from, but he and his officers appear to be the only employees from the city who are addressing these cases and shouldering the burden. Where are the city manager and the city council, who should be standing shoulder to shoulder with Chief Sales and his department? All who have been working nonstop and under intense pressure to address these cases while managing the everyday crises. It has taken its toll on the officers and their families, which is evidenced by the retirements of some of Beloit's most senior, respected, and experienced officers. While new officers have been hired, they are primarily replacements due to retirements, not additional officers. My questions are, what is the city's specific plan to address the rising violence? What resources and money, COVID dollars perhaps, will be put forward to support efforts to combat crime and violence? Will the city manager and the city council members be more visible in the community while being transparent for how the city will respond to this serious, complex, and difficult challenge our community is facing? Leadership, communication, and a plan is needed now. There are many individuals, organizations, and nonprofits willing to help if they have a sense of who, when, and how they can work together with the city leaders in a systemic response to the challenge. My second concern related to the first comes from the celebration of life of Chief Leggett's life 2 weeks ago, where the outpouring of love and appreciation from the Beloit citizens and surrounding communities reminds me how important and appreciated our first responders are to our community. It made me question why first responders are not receiving the appropriate support and appreciation they deserve from City Hall and the council. For example, I cannot understand why City Hall is being renovated on floors that are actually empty these days, closed completely on weekends and holidays, and yet the police department, which is open 24/7, 365, and the nerve center in our community continues to be neglected. It should have been moved, renovated, updated years ago, yet it remains an embarrassment for the community and officers who are sworn to protect the community during a particularly violent and dangerous period in our history. I believe there have been times recently when only 2 officers were on duty during shifts for the entire city. Might be worth checking on that. The same is true for the fire department, where shifts are short-staffed, resources are scarce, and where both police and fire have not had raises in years. Morale in both departments is extremely low, and there is a very real concern that both chiefs have been muzzled by the city manager. I have heard this from many reliable and informed sources in our business community and nonprofit organizations. There was a time when the police and the fire chiefs gave regular reports to the council that were unfiltered and not regulated by the city manager. Is that true today? If not, why not? While it's obvious to many that I have some bias in this with 2 sons and a daughter-in-law who are first responders, I am also a citizen who is very interested in Beloit and its future, which includes recruiting and retaining tax-paying citizens and businesses. One of the key components for those considering Beloit is the safety and security of our community. If there is one area where investments need to be made by this administration and council, safety and security should be near the top, especially if our growth includes a casino. The last few days demonstrate why that needs to be a priority. My wife and I try to ignore the sirens each day, but when we hear them, we are reminded that our 3 family members are putting themselves in harm's way each and every time they respond to a call, the number of which is significantly on the rise. No other job in the city carries that burden. Police and fire careers end early due to the stress, exposure to toxic substances. Think Beloit College pool as just one example. Danger and the constant need to respond immediately to crises every day. They deserve better attention from the city. In closing, this community needs more from this administration and council, including greater transparency, leadership, open communication, visibility, and recognition for the men and women who put their lives on the line each and every shift. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wish to speak tonight? Second call? Third call? Public comment is now closed.
Item 6 is consent agenda. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a councilor member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point to be on the agenda.
The council member like anything removed from the consent agenda?
6G?
6G. Okay.
6D.
Okay, 6D and 6G have both been removed from the consent agenda. Would any council member like anything else removed from the consent agenda? If not, the consent agenda consists of 6A through 6C, 6E, 6F, 6H, and 6I. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Motion by Forbeck, second by Blakeley. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Do we have Councilor Duncan?
No, not yet.
Councilor
Aye.
Duncan.
Aye. Okay. Any opposed?
This is Councilor Duncan. Aye. I'm in favor.
Thank you.
The motion carries.
Okay, item 6D is consideration of resolution 2022-018 approving a clubhouse food and beverage operating agreement for Kruger-Haskell Municipal Golf Course.
We will have an update from either City Manager Laura Williamson tonight.
Good evening. You have before you a resolution that would approve the operating agreement with Caddyshack, LLC for the operation of food and beverage services at the Kruger-Haskell Golf Course. clubhouse. And we're very excited about this opportunity to have our new vendor coming into the clubhouse. The past vendor informed us last fall that they were not going to renew the lease. We did go through a request for proposal process, and Chatty Shack submitted a proposal. And so before you, you have that agreement that would be beginning this golf season, and there would be an option for 4 one-year renewals with the same operator.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
Motion by Forbeck, second by Leavy. Any discussion? Councilor Forbeck?
I'm very pleased. Thank you for your work in getting that request out there, and thank you to this wonderful group who have come in and are going to do this. You know, our golf club is beloved by our golfers in the city and around, and so I was very pleased, and I wanted to pull it from the consent agenda, really just to reassure everybody that we're going to have full service coming up hopefully in an early spring.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Preschel?
I just, thank you, Laura, for this, and I'd like to note that in our last financial report, the last quarter financial report, you will notice that the golf course technically exceeded expectations and exceeded the requisite, did not require our $50,000 subsidy, although I'll let them have it because it was the best year they've had in a long, long time, and it's only looking better going forward. So that's a really, really good thing to see, and that's been a long time coming. We waited a long time for that. So the changes we made 3 years ago, and some of actually combined with one of the benefits of the pandemic was a resurgence of interest in golf, and some help from the golf. On the golf side of things has increased. So it's a really good thing, and then to have this get handled so quickly, and because we struggled 4 or 5 years ago getting the Rock in there to find somebody to go in there and help us, and we got us over that hurdle, and it's a really good thing to see this. So thanks a lot, Laura, and thanks a lot to everybody down at the golf course.
I will let the staff know. Thank you for those kind words.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 6G, consideration of resolution 2022-024, approving the First Amendment to agreement for the sewer and water service between the town of Beloit and the city of Beloit.
Bill Frisbee is here to present.
The city of Beloit and the town of Beloit entered into a sewer and water agreement in October of 2019. That agreement provided for the city servicing portions of the town of Beloit with sanitary sewer and water main. The town of Beloit is requesting to add additional areas to that agreement, and that area is along Valley Road in the town. The town's planning to install the sewer, but they can't serve it without the installation of a lift station, and the city has nearby sewer that could serve it with gravity, so they've requested to connect to our sewer. After they made that request, we looked at our sewer areas and looked if there was anything where we would need to install a lift station to serve, and the area along Prairie Avenue near Thomas Lane and Isaac Lane met those requirements, so we asked the town if they would serve that for us in exchange for us serving Valley Road. So it's a mutually beneficial agreement to put these in. Both communities will save the installation costs for lift stations, then the ongoing operation and maintenance costs.
Thank you.
And if this is approved, we will have to go through a process with the DNR to amend the sewer service areas for each treatment plant. But with both communities on board, it would just be a formality process to go through.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Forbeck, second by Leavy. Any discussion? Councilor Preschel?
I wanted it pulled off the consent agenda because I don't think a 30-year agreement for anything should be a routine matter. And I also understand that this is an expeditious solution, an easy solution to the problem that currently exists that needs a solution quickly. We can't wait around and hash it out over a period of time. But I think as a city councilor and as somebody who's seen a number of our neighborly gestures go for naught in return, that I thought I should pull it and I should dissent from this vote. I'll say no to this vote, only because at some point in the future, probably after I'm gone, the city and the towns and our neighbors, we need to get together and do what's right for the greater Beloit area. And that is not playing these games of parochial, municipality versus township. We would be much better together. We'd be much better working out, instead of these little agreements, to continue the mistakes made in the 60s, that we need to get together, and they need to come together and solve those and come up with a permanent solution that's better for everybody. And it will be better for everybody if anybody would just sit down and figure it out. The numbers work, but nobody wants to talk about it. So I pulled it, and I'll make that, my one vote won't matter, but it will matter that somebody up here still has the future of Beloit and the greater good, and a long-term vision to say, let's work better and make a better Beloit. So that's why I pulled it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Manager?
This is Regina. This is Councilor Duncan. I have a comment if Councilor Pressure is finished.
Councilor Duncan, the council president just recognized me to make a comment, and then perhaps when I'm finished, you can go next. I'm seeing the council president nod to that effect. This is one of the difficulties of hybrid meetings and trying to read body language when you can't be in the room together. The comment that I wanted to make was in regard to sustainability and the fact that staff is presenting this solution that is mutually beneficial to both current existing jurisdiction and both jurisdictions, both currently having their own sewer service areas and sewer treatment plants, that we're not only reducing the electricity that would otherwise be needed to run lift stations that will no longer be required in the town and the city, but it also reduces those capital operating and maintenance costs over time. So we see this as being beneficial to our sustainability efforts and preservation of natural resources. And given the current construct of working within limitations that have existed for many years, this seemed to be a positive step in the right direction, and staff stands behind the recommendation before you this evening. Obviously, both Bill Frisbee and myself are available to answer any questions. That concludes my comments. Councilor Duncan?
Yes. Thank you, City Manager Luther. I think that this amendment is good for everyone. It's good for Beloit, and it fits. We've come a long way in this endeavor and are making progress, so I support this, and I commend our city manager and city staff for their efforts in moving forward with this agreement. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilor Duncan. Any further comments? If not, I'll just say one thing is, regionalism is a good thing, and I think a lot of our residents, they don't see the town or the city, they just see that they live here in this area. So what we can do to help anyone in our community is good, regardless of them having a town or a city address. This is a good partnership. We're developing our relationship, and we've come a long way since I started in the council. We started not talking to each other, being, at odds with the town of Beloit. Now we've gone to working together in a lot of ways. So this is a good step in the right direction. So with that, Councilor Preschel.
I just want to clarify that I understand the reasoning and the rationale. It makes perfect sense. I just think there's a better solution, and nobody's willing to try and achieve it. And that's a bigger picture than just this little land swap for sewer service. But it's something that we need to have on the table. We need to have that discussion, and we need to perpetuate that discussion until some progress is made. So I'll still go on record as opposing this just to make that statement.
Thank you, Councilor Preschel. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Councilor Duncan.
Was that, Councilor Duncan, can you please repeat your vote to item 6G?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
That motion passes 6-1.
The next item on the agenda is licenses. There are none. Item 8 is ordinances. 8A is consideration of ordinance number 3738, amending the City of Beloit comprehensive plan to change the future land use designation in the future land use map from single-family residential urban to planned mixed use for the properties located at 214 and 226 Beach Avenue and 1548 Shore Drive. Plan Commission recommendation for approval was 6-0. This is the second reading.
Thank you. And before we start the presentation or the discussion of this, I will be recusing for this item and the next one, since I am on the board of the nonprofit hoping to see this passed tonight. So I'll step out the room and pass it to Vice President Keys.
Thank you. This is the second reading. So Julie Christensen will be available, but will not be providing the report right now. So if we have questions during the discussion. So can I have a motion to get this item on the floor? All right. Preschel had the first, and Councilor Blakeley had a second. And any questions or discussion for this item? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That passes unanimously.
The second item is 8B, consideration of ordinance number 3737, amending the zoning district map from R-1B, Single-Family Residential District, to the PUD, Planned Unit Development District, for part of 249 Maple Avenue, 1534 and 1540 Shore Drive, and 214 and 226 Beach Avenue. Plan Commission recommendation for approval was 5-0. This is the second reading.
Thank you. So again, being the second reading, we will hold on the presentation. All right, Councilor Leavy has the motion. And Councilor Forbeck with the second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Right. Any opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Item 9 is appointments. There are none. Item 10 is counselor activities and upcoming events.
We'll start with Vice President Keys tonight.
Thank you, Council President. It's been an eventful and challenging few weeks for our community since the last meeting. I have several things, and I will start with a big thank you to our Parks and Recreation staff with the Beloit Winter Fest. It was a terrific success. My personal family highlights that we were able to enjoy included the dog sled demonstration, s'mores at Big Hill, and a horse-drawn sleigh ride. So thankful for the snow and the staff and all the volunteers that made that citywide event a success. With some of the challenges, COVID, the community spread is still quite high. And despite our best efforts, Omicron found its way into my house, and it is not fun. It's worth avoiding, and even with my vaccine, I will still say it was worth avoiding. And even worse, my 8-month-old son, when he became ill in those high days of fevers, again, I would have rather prevented that. So please, I ask everyone to continue to mask, practice social distancing indoors, and to get vaccinated and boosted to avoid severe illness. And with this, I have 2 songs of praise, actually, for the School District of Beloit. I want to thank the School District of Beloit for following science and prioritizing the health and safety of our children and keeping the universal masking in place. As a parent of a child who is 4 and attends 4K and not eligible for a vaccine, there's really no good options or answers. And I know I'm not alone with other parents of children in this age group. And so I'm very thankful for the school district for this layer of protection. My second song of praise is for the community testing clinics offered by the School District of Beloit. These community testing clinics are citywide in different school district buildings, and if a family member or a student has symptoms, you just need to contact the school nurse, and they will get you a link. Then you're able to fill in the form and walk in and receive a test, and you'll get your result within 24 to 48 hours. And it was really a godsend for my family when tests were hard to find and scheduled days out. So thank you to the School District of Beloit. My next thing is a concern and a challenge. I have been bringing forth the concern of youth homelessness and the crisis that we're seeing in Beloit for several months now. I first brought this forward November 29th and had a request to add this to the agenda for discussion of this crisis and the potential allocation for ARPA funding. I also have brought this request forward for a minimum of a council briefing on the scope of this issue on January 5th and January 24th, and again January 31st. I do want to say that I have received feedback that we might get be briefed at the next meeting. And I really, really hope that we have a full council report and an opportunity for council to discuss this issue, because it has been described as nothing short of a humanitarian crisis, because we have the opportunity to act. And I do want to say that when I first started reporting on the youth homelessness crisis, we were at 350 youth identified within the school district of Beloit. We are now at 429. Less than 60 are unaccompanied, meaning that nearly 375 have a adult with them. So I personally will look forward to conversations. I don't have solutions, but other communities have been proactive with ARPA funding. And I'm happy to discuss that further when the opportunity arises. So finally, my thank you. I want to end with a thank you for our first responders, especially our police department and Chief Sales. As I said, the past few weeks have been unimaginably difficult. Special thank you to Chief Sales and our community for supporting our girls basketball team this last weekend. Our community raised funds for a terrific team building event up to Madison to watch the UW girls basketball game, and the chief provided an escort out of town. And this was very, very meaningful. It was a beautiful example of what our community is all about. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Councilor Leavy?
Thank you. Just to kind of echo some of the things that the Vice President said about the community, just thank you to the chief, the entire police department, and first responders. They've had a couple of busy weeks here. Also, thanks to Sarah for getting information out to us when things are happening. That helps us out as people call us. But I need to echo some things that the chief said, that this is not a representation of Beloit. Despite of what we see in the paper and what we hear on the news, it seems like the good stuff that Beloit does doesn't get televised, doesn't get in the paper, but the bad stuff does. And that's not a direct indication of the citizens or the community of Beloit. So I want to put that out there as a counselor. I've said that over 15 years ago when I got on here, and all my life, because I'm a native of this city. That's not a representation of what we are in Beloit. We have a good community here. Over the years, there's things that have been blossoming. We've been moving forward. So as a Beloiter, we will not let things like this take us back. We will not be deterred. However, I need to also say, this is not a police department issue. This is not a city of Beloit issue. This is the community issue. The police can only do what they can do. A lot of people will come to me and say, what are the police doing? They need to solve these crimes. The police can only do what they can do with the information that they have. I need to make it clear that, as the chief said, if you see something, you must say something if you want crimes to be solved. The example that I like to give people is, if my neighbor sees someone breaks into my house and don't tell me who they are, there's nothing I can do. The police can't do anything if people don't come forward. So I think it's time out for the complaining, the blaming, and it's time to get down to action, because when you start having young people continually on a regular basis being murdered and being shot, if that does not bother you, we need to check ourselves. Because I often say, what if it was your child or your niece, your nephew, your cousin? You would want somebody to speak up. So there's anonymous lines that you could call to give the information, but in order for these crimes to be solved, we gotta have people speak up. That is my report.
Thank you. Councilor Blakeley?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. For those of you who aren't aware of our senior center for people 50 years and older, it's on Bluff Street on the west side of town, Grinnell Hall. It's a wonderful place. I recently discovered it since I have an upcoming birthday and finally I'll be old enough. But if you have a member of your family or you yourself are in the right age group, it's a great place to go. They have exercise equipment, exercise classes, inexpensive, healthy lunches every day, and a whole lot more than that. So please keep Grinnell Hall in mind. This coming Wednesday, in another branch of government, the school board candidates are going to appear in a forum that will be held from 6 to 8 Wednesday evening at Beloit Public Library. It's sponsored by the group Justice Overcoming Borders, and that's this Wednesday, February 9th, at the library, and they will be recording it, so if you can't be there on Wednesday evening, you'll be able to watch it on a YouTube video later on. And I just wanted to say that we continue to celebrate Black History Month. We continue to recognize all the struggles that have gone on for Blacks in America. We continue to recognize all the achievements, sometimes against great odds, for people to work their way to the top of their fields or even just to participate in many fields across the board. I mean, everyone from former President Barack Obama to one of my favorite authors, Alice Walker, who happens to celebrate her birthday this Wednesday, February 9th. And just keep that in mind. Keep in mind all the wonderful leadership we have in the Black community, from the Black community, serving the entirety of Beloit. And I think that ends my report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll go to Councilor Prushel.
Hi, I would like to echo what Kevin said so eloquently. I would only say that you have to help our police do their job, and their job can only be accomplished with your help. And there's lots of people witnessing this stuff and not saying a word. We've seen it over and over again for years, and we have to stop this cycle. And the only way to stop it is to break out of it, take that courageous step, and let the police know what they need to know to help us and help your loved ones. We need to do that. You need to take that to heart, and you need to tell your friends. Let's put a stop to it. Let's stop the cycle. And the only way we're going to stop it is to stand up, tell what we know. With that, I would like to echo off of what Sherry said. I did my first What the Tech this last week at Grinnell, and we had four or five people show up, so it was very good. First one we've had in nearly 2 years. We'll have another one later this month. Also coming up tomorrow is our first ABLIC meeting in 2 months. ABLIC stands for the Alcohol Beverage License Control Commission. Now you know why we say ABLIC. And then following later this month, we'll have a traffic review meeting for the first time in a few months. So those are all on the agenda coming up soon. And I already mentioned the golf course's success for last year. So that'll be all I have to say now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Forbeck?
Yes, just a few things. First of all, I have to say, with the real tragedy that happened at our high school, there are many of our kids right now that were present that evening, and this has been tough for them. And we need to remember that as we know that we need to heal from these horrible kind of, especially the gun crime. It's awful. So I just want to send out my love and concern to all of our teachers and our parents and especially our kids who were witness to something awful. And then I also want to say, thank you, Sherry, for mentioning about the Board of Education Candidates Forum. There's 11 people running for school board, and people have to be smart and know who these people are. And this is a good way for you to be able to tell who you're going to vote for in this primary. The primary is the 15th. So Wednesday, either come to the meeting at the library or certainly watch it on YouTube, and so you can get some idea, because most of us, at least I don't know many of the good, brave people who are saying, yes, I'm going to put myself forward to help our public education system here. Then I also want to mention on January 24th, the City Council had, I think, a very good meeting where we were together with our city volunteers. And we talked about our strategic plan and some of the sort of rules for open meetings law. And I thought it was a very nice way that both the City Council and then our many, many volunteers, I think we had above 40 of the city volunteers who serve on our committees that were engaged in that meeting on the 24th. And I wanted to give kudos to our staff and our city council president who had thought that this was a good idea and set it up. I thought it was excellent. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Duncan?
Thank you. Thank you, Council President Anderson. For my counselor activity, last week I spoke virtually to students at Cunningham Elementary School. So I want to thank Ms. Conklin and her class for having me to present in recognition of Read Out Loud Month and Black History Month. We have great teachers and students in our Beloit School District, and a lot of the students will be some of our future counselors. That said, I want to acknowledge the Beloit Memorial High School students, Jaheim Harrell, Griffin Overnader, Paul Allen, and Ryan Mechanic, who won the Milwaukee Bucks Theme Night competition, Inside Out Night, which was focused on bringing awareness to mental health. Congratulations to these students on their achievement. I also want to say happy birthday to grandmother Evelyn Williams on celebrating turning 101 years young. Grandmother, that's how many continued blessings that I wish for you and many more birthdays. I also want to thank Chief Sales, our first responders, City Manager Luther, our City Council President, and all of our city staff for their service during the sparks of violence in our community. I ask that if you see or know something, please say something. Let's stand for peace and choose to spread love. Lastly, I want to give a special thanks to our city manager and city staff for ensuring that I am able to be present virtually this evening. This ends my council report.
Thank you, Councilor Duncan. I think with all the comments we've heard, we're obviously thinking about the tragedy that happened at the high school last week, and I also wanted to address some of the comments we're hearing about the lack of support from our end and our city staff's end for the public safety. As stated at the press conference held this past Sunday, attended by myself and the city manager, we acknowledged the recent violent crime and support of Chief Sales and our entire Beloit Police Department. Our first responders are appreciated and supported. As an example, the city manager worked with Chief Peace and Chief Sales to ensure specialized law enforcement mental health services are available to staff and are actively working to reduce any stigma related to mental health. Both of us and many of our counselors have attended and will continue to be present at neighborhood meetings, listening sessions, and other community events with Chief Sales and other representatives of the police department. In regard to facility improvements, the police department was the first to be updated with the City Hall security upgrades being phased years after the Beloit Police Department was renovated. We all agree it would be wonderful to have a new police station, but a variety of financial limitations exist that make it difficult. It is certainly not for a lack of understanding or of the need. The city will need to reevaluate its staffing as we grow and in response to the needs of the community. Partnerships the fire department has developed, such as with the town of Beloit, are good for the entire region, and I hope to see those partnerships flourish. In short, our community and our employees need our support and collaboration now more than ever. Together, we can help prevent violent crimes from occurring and provide justice when they do. I'd like to finish with, if you do know something, we do have an anonymous tip line. The number is 608-364-0999. 6823. Please give that number a call if you know anything. We definitely want to see that solved. We don't want to see any more tragedies happen in our community. So if you see something, say something. It's going to help our community be better. And, you know, as all of our colleagues have said, you know, what if it was somebody you know? What if somebody you loved? You'd want that to be solved. So please call that number if you know something. And that ends my comments.
Mr. President, may I just mention briefly, I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of former City Attorney Dick Holm. He had served the city for decades. He passed away last month, and I just wanted to put that in the record, that we do thank him for his many, many decades of service, and wanted to acknowledge that.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you, City Attorney.
The next item on the agenda are city manager presentation. There will be none. Item 12 is reports from boards and cities officers. Item 12A, the city council may adjourn into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub E Wisconsin statutes to deliberate or negotiate the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, namely to discuss the following: the possible conveyance of a portion of and property adjacent to 80/100 East Grand Avenue. The council will not reconvene into open session.
Can I have a motion to go into closed session?
I so move.
Motion by Forbeck, second by Breschel. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're now in closed session.